Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today, I am in the volunteer state of Tennessee, and I am going to apply some Leadslingers hand sanitizer to the hands of Brad Premo, who is the CEO of Leadslingers. Now, you don't drink the hand sanitizer. Are you ready?
Yep.
It feels completely, this is a little watery.
Yep.
It feels completely weird to be putting your hand sanitizer onto your hands.
Well, appreciate it.
I do have a bottle over there for you. You can check them out at Leadslingers We are going to spend some time talking about the products that you have. I'm going to see if I can weasel some out of you. But are you guys still making the hand sanitizer?
Not at the moment. We've kind of been fortunate. We've been able to switch back over to making liquor, making whiskey again, and plus we got beer now. So
I heard IPAs.
Yep, we got an IPA. We have a stout, a lager, and a wheat
Nice.
beer. Yeah,
awesome.
So
we're gonna see if we can get a sample afterwards. Anyway, Brad Premo, thanks for being on the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming riding shotgun with Charlie. Let's hit the road and go to downtown Nashville.
All right.
Back in my youth, I used to live here.
Okay.
Only for 6 months.
It's a great town. It's probably changed a lot since you've been here.
It's changed a way lot. I actually had breakfast. I had breakfast at the Waffle House.
Okay.
That I ate at in December of 1992 in the 1900s. So anyway.
Probably still the same grease in that Waffle House.
The guy that was making the food, I'm talking with the other guys that were there, and I said, I said in December of 1992, I said I came through here playing with a band, and we ate here, and I looked at the guy that was cooking, and I said, this is probably before you were born. He's like, no, 1992, I was 1. Never mind. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Waffle House. We're here to talk about Brad Premo and Leadslingers Whiskey. Brad, how did you get into gun stuff?
I kind of grew up in it, to be honest with you. So my family's background, we're from Arkansas and Michigan and Tennessee, and I was born up in Michigan, which is,
oh, cool.
A lot of people don't realize, people up there realize, like, deer hunting and hunting in general, outdoor stuff in general in Michigan is huge.
Yeah.
And so as long as I can remember, I remember my dad and uncles, taking rifles out in the fields and shotguns and everything else to go, pheasant hunting or deer hunting or whatever it was thereafter. So, I think I might have been 5 years old the first time, Dad, started me out on a pellet gun and put me on a .22 rifle and just kind of worked me up from there. So it's just been life.
That's cool. I see pictures of you on social media. You're out fishing and hunting and doing all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah,
so that's awesome.
Fishing is one of those things. It's like it's a passion of mine. There's nothing more relaxing for me. It's something I just really enjoy.
Well, I will tell you this: what I like about fishing is what I like about golfing, and that's smoking cigars.
that's one of the nice things about it, though. It's just you can do it and not have to be like super mentally engaged. You can just kind of relax.
Exactly.
Enjoy the world around you.
Exactly. All right, so you've been shooting and hunting since you were a young guy. What happens next? Now you have some military experience. So when did you join the military? Did you go to college?
Yeah, I went to college. So I went to University of Memphis right out of high school.
Nice.
And I graduated there. And a week after I graduated, I swore into the Army to be an Airborne Infantryman. And so from there, I spent the next 3 years in the 82nd Airborne as an infantryman, and deployed to Iraq a couple times.
Wow.
And it's probably, honestly, joining the Army was probably the best decision I've ever made for me personally. You know, I had a really good upbringing and no complaints there. You know, probably, you know, idyllic, really. I mean, Dad was a football player, Mom was a cheerleader. You know, like,
dude, that is you know, that's America, man.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, so, you know, I can't complain about anything about my upbringing or anything else, but, you know, I needed that time in the Army to kind of finish out becoming a man.
Yeah, get your stuff together.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, I was actually 23 when I enlisted.
Oh my gosh, that is kind of old.
You know, it's funny, like, you know, yeah, right. I was one of the oldest guys in my platoon in basic training, and then in my platoon in the 82nd, I was the oldest for the Joes. So, but you know, like having that little bit of perspective made adjusting the Army easier. You know, instead of being 18 right out of your mom's house. Right. But you know, like just I know that when I was 23 years old, looking back, like I was, you know, I was a good dude, but at the same time, like I was irresponsible. You know, I couldn't be on time for anything. I lacked the maturity and discipline, you know, to be a successful person. Sure. At the time.
What? I don't want to get too far away from college yet. What was your degree in?
Well, my first degree is in sociology, criminology.
Okay.
So I did that, and because you know, at the time I thought, you know, hey, I want to get into law enforcement. You know, I wanted to be a cop. So like one of those things. Growing up again, I wanted to do, and so you know, I did that path just to get to where I thought I wanted to be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And when, you know, the Army, like I'd always been kind of interested in the military because my dad was in the Army, my uncle was in the Army. You know, I have a lot of family history, I guess, with the military. So, you know, I talked to the different branches, you know, getting ready to graduate from high school, talked to them again, kind of through college, off and on. And, you know, then 9/11 happened. And this is, you know, kind of date myself. I mean, it was 2000. I graduated December 2002 from college, so I remember watching 9/11 happen, you know, on the TV in my living room park. Yeah. And I remember, I saw the second plane hit. The first one had already hit when I'd gotten out of the shower, walked out, you know, flipped on the news, you know, like I do every morning, and remember seeing the plane hit a building. I was like, man, like
what a nightmare that's gonna be.
Well, I thought, like, what an accident. Like, how do you hit a big building with a plane, you know?
Right.
Like, you know?
I remember watching it. It was picture day at the school I was teaching at, and they were taking pictures in my room, so I had to sit in the teacher's room all day. And I'm like, how are they going to get that stuff down the elevator? Like, how do you get an airplane out of a building?
Yeah, I was just kind of dumbfounded, and like as I was watching that, like another plane hit. I was like, you got to be kidding me! Like what?
Yeah,
like I'm gonna. You know, for the first couple of seconds, like I was just dumbfounded and thinking, like, what are the odds of this happening twice? You know, but of course, after a few seconds, then like kind of reality sort of fade, you know, kind of washes over you, and you realize, like, wait a second, this is no accident. I still kind of remember that whole day pretty vividly, to be honest with you, and it had a big effect, you know, a huge effect on me as far as, you know, all these times I've been spent talking to the different military branches and recruiters and everything. I was kind of, I wasn't really playing around, but at the same time, I was just kind of sort of sticking my toe in the water and just trying to figure out what I was going to do, what I didn't want to do. And, you know, honestly, the idea of committing to something like that was kind of scary to me.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure it's got to be scary for anybody.
You know, but I think watching that happen and kind of realizing what it meant really kind of galvanized me and kind of got me over that, I guess, that fear of committing to something so big. Because I saw it. I mean, that was, you know, to this day, I still say that was, you know, kind of my generation's Pearl Harbor.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
It was, you know, kind of that moment where, you know, a lot of us were like, all right, you know, it's time to set aside, you know, our personal lives and, you know, put out some boots and grab a rifle and go to work.
Absolutely.
You know, and I remember when I went to talk to my parents that night about it, and you know, Dad being a former infantryman himself, he was pretty angry. You know, as a lot of us were.
A lot of us, yeah.
You know, and Mom was, you know, I still remember she made me promise that I would graduate college before I signed up.
Right.
And so I promised her I would do that. But when it came time, like I remember I went to talk to the recruiter and stuff. They were, throwing all these different jobs and everything else. And I said, look, I'm not here to sign up and do something I can do as a civilian. Like I don't want to be an accountant in the Army. Like
right.
I don't want to, not that we don't need those folks in the Army, but like that's not what I was intending to do.
Yeah, that's not your personality.
No, not for that. I mean, like, granted, I mean, being naive sometimes is a good thing, because not really knowing what you're getting into.
This is why the military goes after young guys, because when you're 18 to 19 to 24 years old, you're invincible, man.
Yeah.
You have no idea what the future looks like, and you have no inkling of what it's like to grow up and to be an adult or anything like that.
Yeah, and
all right, what are we doing?
You're gonna want to kind of bear over to the right.
All right, I'm gonna tell me in less than a mile.
Yeah, and maybe just get over one more. Probably make it a little bit easier. But yeah, not knowing, fully what I was getting involved in was, and it wasn't a bad thing. It was just, at that point, I was like, well, this is going to be an adventure. And I actually, when you go to the MEPS to fully swear in, and, pick your MOS and stuff, the career counselor there was actually a former SF guy that I think had gotten hurt, so he was kind of doing the rest of his years.
Right.
Through retire there, and like he was pretty straight up. He goes, "Look, dude," he's like, "you have no idea what you're about to sign up for." he's like, "There's nothing I can tell you that can really explain it. It's like the only way to find out is you just got to go do it."
Yeah.
And that's the truth. If you're just gonna hang over to the right, this is gonna be 40. Matter of fact, if you stayed on this, it'd probably take you back over towards your hotel is by the airport.
Gotcha.
But we're gonna get off.
Yeah, we want to go downtown, baby. Woo.
Well, we'll probably probably the best way to do it would be just go down Broadway.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yep.
So, 3 years?
Yeah.
3 years?
Yep.
Went to the Afghanistan, is that?
Iraq. I went to Iraq twice.
Get over one?
Yeah, get over one. Stay. You can probably, I think you can just hang out in this lane till you get to the
Broadway.
Yeah.
So 3 years. You get out after 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then what do you do?
I moved back to Tennessee, and I got a job at the Murfreesboro Police Department being a cop.
Oh wow!
Yep, I did that for 6 years, and had a good time. It was, I remember, I was talking to my dad, and it's like, I was only 26 at the time, and
yeah,
you want to get off right here,
Broadway.
Yep, and just stay over to the left. It's kind of a weird intersection thing.
All right.
But yeah, I told him, I was like, I'm only 26, but I've kind of now accomplished kind of everything I really ever wanted to do. Just
now what?
Which be a soldier and be a cop. Like, so here I am.
Right.
Yeah, I did that for 6 years and learned an awful lot there. You learn a lot.
Cop, sure.
Oh man, you learn a lot about people and about
dealing with people.
Yeah, society in general. I mean, I worked midnights pretty much the whole time.
That's got to be glamorous.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, the midnight shift is, at least at Murfreesboro, like that is the shift to be on.
Yeah.
At least it was when I was there. It was a good group of dudes. The supervisors were all good guys. You have your fair amount of, kind of dumb stuff you got to put up with. But
right.
In general, like when someone calls the cops at 2 o'clock in the morning,
yeah.
it's because they really need the cops.
Right.
So, you get your juiciest calls a lot of times.
Excuse me a second.
During those times.
I'm going to give this guy a Gatorade. There you go.
You have a good day, okay?
Thanks, man. You too.
All right,
Take care.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I was with Diane Muller in Washington, D.C., and I got a bottle of water here for you. And I had a couple bottled waters for her, and there was a homeless guy, so she's like, "Give these away." I'm like, "You're a better person than I am." So I'm trying to get back with Diane.
Yeah.
So, being a cop, you've done everything for 3 years. Is that what you got out of being a police?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of things going on at the time. Frankly, like the money was not good.
Sure.
Where I was working, and at the time, the city council was not very responsive to what was going on in the police department and what we needed.
Right.
It was very frustrating to deal with.
Yeah.
And, you know,
downtown Nashville, baby.
Yep, just go straight.
Whew.
The thing is that job is a lot of fun starting out, and then like a lot of other things, like the fun kind of sort of subsides a little bit.
Yeah.
And so then you got to find kind of other things to keep you interested and keep you going, and that's when you kind of start noticing that financially you're not getting ahead, you're not gonna get ahead,
right.
You know, at the rate things were going.
Yep.
So I just kind of got burnt out. You know, like that is a, I don't know what they have going on right here. You gotta get all the way over.
But I gotta scoot all the way over.
Yeah. People, and you know, especially right now with kind of the attitudes towards law enforcement.
Oh my God, you should be. I hate to say you should be glad you're not doing it, but you should be glad you're not doing it.
I am, you know, and I still got a lot of friends that are in it. And,
oh, sure.
You know, God bless them for hanging in there, and fortunately, like, they're not in a place where they're, you know, getting dumped on like a lot of guys are that do that job.
Yeah.
But I think that people do not realize from the outside looking in, like, how psychologically and physically ruinous that job is for the guys who do it. You know, like, the average lifespan of a police officer after retirement is only 5 years.
Wow.
I kid you not.
Wow.
You know, like, it's the stress, usually the poor diet that comes with working midnights, you know. And I mean, you have to put a lot of effort into, when you have that job, you got to put a lot of effort into not falling into some of the habits that lead to poor health, like,
oh, sure.
You know, having a bad diet, bad sleep habits.
Right.
You know, things like that. So those guys, they pay a really hefty price in both their mental well-being, their physical well-being, their relationships. It comes with a huge price. And, you know, the fact that we still have guys lining up to do the job, not as many as we used to.
Right.
But the fact that guys are still lining up to do that job is...
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm, you know, thankful for it.
Absolutely.
You know, I feel like one of the ways we let these guys down is that we don't really take care of their mental health at all. You know, they just kind of get left out there to figure it out for themselves. And of course, every department will tell you, oh, we have, you know, critical incident debriefing, we have, you know, all these.
Right, even if you debrief the stuff, you're still taking that stuff home with you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you're taking all this bad stuff that happened, dropping it off to someone else. It's still...
You know what it's like? It's like a dripping faucet, right? So...
Oh my God,
you know,
that makes you crazy.
Yeah, you go to a war zone, and you kind of experience, like, massive trauma all at once, you know?
Right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here at Lower Broadway. Oof.
Yeah, this was the party area until COVID kind of put a dent in it, somewhat of a dent in it. It's still pretty crowded down here at night.
Mercy, mercy, mercy. Yeah, this has changed a lot since I used to be here.
Yeah.
There's Robert's Western World. Oh man, it's too cool. Too cool. I can't believe I'm going to say this on my show. There's a little place over here. I used to play with a band on 2nd Ave at this place called Maribel's, and I wanted to make some extra money. So I answered an ad to be a manager at a store. So I come downtown. It's like legit. I don't even know if it's here anymore. I don't know what it was called. I worked at a porn shop. Okay. For 1 hour. And I'm like, I can't. There was a woman that came in, and she's like, I'm here to do shows in the back. I'm like, all right, I'm out. I can't do this, man. So for 1 hour, that was it. It's right down here.
Yeah, you know, I
probably not down here.
I don't think it's that. I mean, they've done a lot of
upgrading.
Yeah, a lot of upgrading, which is really cool. And a lot of effort to kind of make this area.
I was here before the AT&T building.
Yes, so was I. You know, I moved down here when I was in 1990, when I was 10. Cool. So yeah, the Nashville skyline has changed. You know,
I love it though, man. I think it's so cool. Yeah. All right, so 3 years. 3 or 4 years being a police officer.
6.
6 years being a police officer. What do you do after that? Like, you've got to. Okay, so you realize you're not making enough to support your family, and you're not. It's not the glamorous life that you thought it would be.
Yeah,
not that it's glamorous being a police officer, but it's not, what you thought it would be. So you say, "Oh, I got to do something else here."
Yep. So I got burnt out, and so my best friend that I met in the Army, he got out of the Army, and I got him a job at the police department I was at as well. So for a couple of years, we were on midnights together. And like, he never really liked the job that much, and that's about the time I started kind of getting burned out. So we started talking about going back in the military together, and so I mean, I started training up again, you know, getting back in shape and stuff, and you know, I was going to do some things, and I just kind of had an epiphany one day. I'm not sure why, but I was like, you know what, like, because I was 30, and I was like, you know, I'm a little bit too old to be starting over in the military, you know, like this, you know. And so I decided to utilize the GI Bill. Unfortunately, down in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, they have Middle Tennessee State University. It's a great school, very, very veteran friendly at that. Cool. And so I used my GI Bill. So while I was working midnights at the police department, I was also going to school full time. The last couple of years I was there, so I'd get off of work at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you know, in some semesters be on campus at 8 a.m. until noon or 1 p.m. You know, and then go home and sleep for a couple hours and go back to work. So that was a pretty intense couple of years when it came to that. But I did that, and I earned a degree in accounting, and so right out of school, I got a job at an accounting firm up here in Nashville. And I was up there for a couple of years. And so I went from being a paratrooper to a midnight cop to a dude sitting in a cubicle at a CPA firm. Wow. Yeah, it was, I'm not going to lie, that was probably the 2 worst years of my professional life. I hated almost every minute of it. You know, like I like numbers, and I actually like accounting. I'm just not cut out for a cubicle. You know, and so while I was doing all that, my buddy that, you know, I told you, you know, my best friend that, you know, was at the police department, he ended up going in the Air Force to be a JTAC. And
what's a JTAC?
They are the guys, they get attached to the Army, and they're the guys that tell the pilots where to drop the bombs.
Oh, okay.
So it's a pretty neat job.
That's kind of a cool gig.
Yep. And so he ended up stationed down in El Paso at Fort Bliss. And while he was there, he met Jared Taylor and Matt Best. And so they had these ideas to start a t-shirt company. And Cody, that's my friend, he gave me a call one day. It was on December. I just finished up my first year at the firm. And he told me the kind of the whole deal about doing t-shirts and this, that, and the other, and they need someone to run the books, and asked me if I wanted to join. And my first thought was, I mean, well, I'm not gonna tell him no. He's my best friend, so I'll do it. I was like, you know, I was thinking like t-shirts,
really
like there's not really any money in t-shirts, you know. I figured like a little part-time gig, and you know, it probably might last 6 months. We might make a couple of bucks, probably have some good laughs, and then that'll be it. And I was wrong. Like that t-shirt company became Article 15 Clothing, and it blew up. Cool. And so yeah, I mean, you know,
this is one of the shirts?
Yep, this is one of the shirts.
Is the company still in business?
No, so what we ended up doing is kind of tried to make a long story short. You know, Matt and JT went off and they started Black Rifle Coffee. So that's kind of
Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah, that's where all their you know, efforts kind of went, and then, you know, we started Leadslingers. That's where my efforts went, and so it just kind of became one of those things that there was really nobody to really take care of Article 15 or, you know, keep the designs fresh or make any content to promote it or anything like that. And so we decided to kind of just close it down and fold the intellectual property into something that Matt's doing right now. So Matt's kind of in the process of rebooting some of the intellectual property, you know, some of the t-shirt designs and stuff like that. Cool. So, but it, you know, it lasted, you know, a good 6 years.
Wow, that's cool.
And gave birth to 2 pretty cool companies, in my opinion.
And when that's what you're doing now.
Yeah. So, you know, with Article 15, you know, doing what it did, and you know, it just, like I said, it was just insane.
All right. What is Article 15 besides a t-shirt company?
So Article 15 is, you know, the Marines will call it NJP or something like that. It's non-judicial punishment. So it's like in the Army, it's called Article 15. Like if you do something stupid, like, you know, underage drinking, or you get in trouble, like nothing not major trouble, but trouble.
Trouble, right? You do something stupid.
Yeah, you got to go see the commander, and you get what's called Article 15.
Article 15. All right.
And it doesn't go in your record as like a conviction of a crime or anything like that. It's just
they have lists. They have like the serious crimes, the felonies, and then the stupid stuff that you do.
Exactly. I mean, it's just kind of one of those deals of, because otherwise, if you get in trouble in the military, it's a court-martial.
Right.
And if you get convicted at court-martial, that's a federal conviction on your record. So like, they got to have a lower grade punishment for, to not wreck people's lives for making,
making stupid mistakes.
Yeah, it's essentially, it's like having it's like a misdemeanor. Like you get like a diversion for it and stuff like that. So, getting Article 15 is painful. I mean, they take your rank, they take half your pay for 2 months, they restrict you to the unit, the battalion area for 2 months, and then you get put on extra duty, for 40,
extra duty.
Yeah, it's 45 days. So like
DUTY or DOODIE?
Both. Like, those are the guys that are down there like pulling weeds out of the motor pool at 8 o'clock at night.
Oh, man.
If you ever see the photographs of people like mopping up rain, stuff like that. I mean, they'd work those guys until after
it stopped raining.
Yeah, well, they'd work them till like well after midnight, and then they'd have to be up, in PT formation by 6 a.m. the next morning. So it's like 6 weeks of not a lot of sleep and doing a lot of dumb stuff.
Man, tries to teach you from doing dumb stuff.
Yeah, it's effective. I mean, most people learn.
It's effective.
It's not subtle, but it's effective.
It's not subtle, but it's effective. I love that.
Yeah. So
how does that lead into whiskey? So you're I don't want to say an accountant, but you are an accountant, but you're not a desk guy.
No.
And you had 6 years of Article 15 shirts, and then how did you parlay that? Like, how do you decide whiskey? How do you decide, like, do you have to, what do you do to start with? I mean, because it all sounds cool. Like, if you say, I run a whiskey company, like, dude, that's great. You look like Jack Daniels, just sitting around drinking all day long.
Yeah, it's fun.
Smoking cigars, having a good time.
It's fun. Like, so the t-shirt thing was so good. Being popular is bringing, money that's coming in, successful business, of course, and fortunately, we had the sense to not be rock stars or try to be rock stars and
buy a big house, buy expensive cars.
Right, we kind of sat down and had some.
Get on 40 up here?
If you want to, you can go straight.
Let's go straight.
Yeah, go through town. But yeah, we just decided, like, what? I mean, t-shirts aren't always going to be a thing. Matt Best, the content he was creating was driving a lot of the sales for the t-shirts. Yeah. I mean, pretty much all the sales for the t-shirts. He's a very talented guy. And also recognition, like, Matt's not always going to be cool. Right? I mean, like,
West End or Broadway?
Go to West End.
West End.
Straight, yeah. And the possibility that, like, because, like, we kind of depended on a personality for our marketing, like, he's not always going to be cool. Or, I mean, he may get tired of doing that, Sure. So you got to have, like, a plan.
It's very tiresome to be cool.
Yeah, it is.
Take it from cool people.
The older you get, the harder it is.
Right.
But, so we started looking for, a more sustainable, long-term business, I guess. And so we thought about some things. I mean, there was a brief consideration of, buying into a company that was making AR-15s, and, because, of course, we like guns. But, even that business, it's boom and bust, and it's very tough.
Oh my gosh, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah, and at the time, it was just like, I didn't think, the real discussion came in, it's like, look, I mean, we don't want to be the guys making $2,000 AR-15s when at the time you could buy a Colt from Walmart for $800.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, it was just one of those, it was whiskey. It's like, we all love whiskey, and God knows we spent a lot of money on it. So, maybe it's time to try to earn some of that money back,
That's awesome.
And just kind of going through our network of people that Jared Taylor knows. Like, Jared knows, I think, probably literally everybody on the planet, it feels like. And
6 degrees of Jared Taylor.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's hard to go anywhere with him without him knowing somebody. But he knew a guy in Oklahoma that had a small whiskey distillery that that would be willing to work with us to develop our own brand.
Yeah.
And So that's kind of how the concept for Leadslingers came about.
Do you take someone else's recipe and change it?
No, so the way it worked out was, funny thing, the accounting firm I used to work at is actually up here on those, you see those tall glass buildings on the right? Mm-hmm. That's one of those towers is where I used to work.
Oh, cool.
So the way it worked out was, like, I kind of hit my stopping point, you know, with the firm, and walked out on a Friday, and Saturday morning I was at the airport getting on a plane to Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh.
To stand up Leadslingers in earnest. And I'd had a few conversations with Garrett, that's the name of our distiller. You know, I had a few conversations with him prior to going out there about what we wanted to do and how we were going to do it. So going out there was just to kind of, you know, put the handshake, you know, exclamation point on everything.
Right.
So he had been distilling whiskey for a little bit, and so he already had some recipes he kind of been looking at and already had made up. And so I was able to kind of go through and just get a good feel for what he was doing, and essentially just kind of pick the one I thought was the best he had. Yeah. And that became ours. Now that's what started with the bourbon. So since then, you know, like he's got a real. I mean, in my opinion, like I love our rye whiskey, and he's been doing a lot of rye. So he's got a real good talent and nose for rye whiskey and some other stuff. So, you know, since then, you know, the flavors, the expressions that we develop are 100% coming from us.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, you know, the way it works, you know, you see all these new brands. You want to get in the right lane right here. Let's go straight. You see all these, you know, brands of whiskey popping up, and you know, one of the interesting things about this industry is that, you know, the manufacturing side is highly consolidated. Probably about 90% of all the brands you've ever heard of are made by about 4 or 5 different manufacturers. Wow. Yeah.
Pulling the curtain aside. Holy moly.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you know, Jim Beam, if I'm not mistaken, I think Beam only has 4 different mash bills, but they have 120 different labels. So each aged product, if it's 8 years, it gets this label. If it's 10 years old, it gets this label. Gotcha. You know, it's you know, things like that. And so, one of your bigger manufacturers,
440 East.
hang it right, and I'll take you straight. Just go straight over the bridge.
Either way, man.
So one of the big ones is called MGP. It's a huge distillery up in Indiana. And at one point, and you know, things change, but at one point, have you ever heard of like High West? The brand High West? No. Really cool place out in Utah, and they make good stuff, but you know, it's all made at the time at MGP. There's a lot of other brands that are made at MGP that basically they make it, they'll age it, you buy the barrels from them, bottle it, put your label on it, and that's your product. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And so, you know, the deal is that, you know, at the time, and you know, I mean, because it doesn't really apply to me, you know, I haven't really priced these barrels or not, but you know, at one point, like, you know, barrels of, you know, 4-year-old bourbon from MGP were anywhere from $1,100 to $2,500 a barrel.
How many 750 milliliters can you get out of a barrel?
Oh, dang! If you wouldn't ask me that, I could have told you. A lot.
A lot. It's very scientific.
You're right. But what it worked out though is that, you know, the market was so hot and stuff that MGP at the time, you know, they had 1,000 barrel minimum purchase. Wow. So at the cheapest to get in, you're looking at 1.1 million just to get inventory. Man. So it's a tough industry to get into, and so getting in with our own distillery, and you know, having, you know, direct access to the production team, and you know, all this kind of, I mean, it really kind of puts us in a great position to be able to actually, you know, kind of control our products, come out with new products, put our own personal touch on the products that you make. So you're gonna just go around to the right.
All right, we're gonna stay to the right on 46.
Yes. Yep. Okay. There's Edley's Barbecue. That's one of good barbecue places in town if you ever get a chance.
What's it called?
Edley's. It's right there. Yep.
2 words? 2 names?
Nope,
Ed
one.
Edley?
E-D-L-E-Y.
Alright.
Yes, Edley's. It's pretty good. So yeah, I mean, that's, you know.
So do you have to meet with the guy in Oklahoma and be like, hey, we want to have, because you guys have, you started off with a bourbon whiskey,
Yeah,
and then you guys have, you've got a cinnamon one, you've got the you've got a rye.
Yep.
I was at a liquor store in Connecticut, and I saw you guys had oh my gosh, I forget what it was. It was like a Patriot
Single malt. Yep.
Maybe
Single malt Minuteman whiskey is what we call it.
Yes, and it had Revolutionary War dude on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, you know, we started off with the bourbon, and, you know, the only way I can describe, you know, kind of getting Leadslingers up and going, and, you know, we're still growing and still got a lot of work ahead of us. It's just a grind. It's just a daily, nonstop grind. But one of the good things about it is that, you know, as we kind of grind this out, I mean, we do have the opportunity to bring new products in. You know, and like I said, we get to put our personal touch on it, and, you know, because the thing about whiskey, it's very personal to people. You know, like, people like to have a good story with the whiskey that they drink. You know, and it's just kind of like, and there's a lot of times, like, the whiskey that people drink is, in some ways, a statement about them.
Oh, sure.
You know, or they kind of see it that way. You know, and so, you know, that was, you know, being able to create a whiskey that you're just going to go straight here and go under the bridge. Okay. And there's a light. You're going to hang a left at that light. It's going to put you back on 40.
All right. West? No, east.
West.
40 west.
Yeah. But being able to, you know, kind of create a product that, you know, because you know what, like, what I would call, like, our tribe, you know, the gun owners, firearms enthusiasts, you know, 2A supporters. Yeah. There's not a lot of products or companies that will unabashedly support us in public. You know, and so being able to do that with our whiskey is very satisfying, and I think also, you know, we've gotten a great response from the community, and, you know, and because I've been able to do other things to kind of, you know, help other Pro 2A companies that they're not necessarily making firearms or anything like that. I mean, they're not directly in the firearms industry, right? But they're like-minded people. Yeah, and we do want to keep it in the family. I know. Shout out to Anthony Calandra. I don't know if you know Anthony. He just did this thing, and he's from New Jersey. He did this thing, he calls it the quarantine crawl. And he goes to all these Pro 2A businesses, and he made a list of them all. And he's like, if you want to support other businesses that support our rights, these are the people to go to. Yeah. So stay over to the left. All right. And this just dumps you back out in 40 west. All right. So yeah. So it's still keeping it in the family, keeping it in the 2A family. It's very important. I mean, no one else is going to help us. You know, like, it's up to us. Yeah. You know, and it's up to us to defend our rights. It's up to us to, I guess, grow our community. You know, I mean, it's very important to get people, you know, involved in personal defense or target shooting or, you know, competitive 3-gun, you know, whatever it is that you enjoy. You know, just getting people involved is super important. You know, it is, and now with all the gun owners that we have now that have all joined in since the virus that shall not be named has started, there's a lot more people that are gun owners, and they're not, I don't want to say they weren't our friends before, but they're not, like, necessarily 2A supporters. Right. They want to be able to protect themselves, so we... Right, and, you know, really, I mean, those are the people, you know, they've got one foot in the door. Yeah. You know, like, a lot of those are the folks that we need to reach. Absolutely. You know, one way or the other, and kind of, you know, put them under our tent. I mean, in my opinion, you know, firearm ownership, being Pro 2A, is a really big tent. We got a lot of room for a lot of different ideas. Yeah. You know, and in my opinion, you know, I can be friends with anybody. You know, I got friends that have some very out there viewpoints, in my opinion. Sure. But, you know, like, as long as they recognize that I have a right to defend myself, my family, by any means necessary. Absolutely. And they don't want, you know, as long as you recognize that, like, we have something we can agree on, a place where we can start. you know. And so, you know, like you said, some of these folks, you know, yeah, they're not necessarily, you know, 2A supporters in the way that we think of Second Amendment supporters.
Right.
You know.
But that's how we get them started.
That's how, exactly. That's how you get them started.
Yeah, it's hey, listen, you know, what did you get a gun for? Well, we live in a dangerous world. They want to defund the police. Okay,
right.
Cool. Here's this other stuff. Here's what it means when they talk about high cap magazines.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what it means when they you know, the gun show loophole.
Right.
I like that Mark Walters uses talks about taking the language back.
Mm-hmm.
One of the phrases that I've started to use is not law-abiding background check people, but I'm also starting to use the gun control loophole. And the gun control loophole is, what do you need a 30-round magazine for? You can get by with a 20-round magazine. A 10-round magazine should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
You should have 7 rounds in there. You shouldn't need more than that. If you can't shoot someone with one shot as they're breaking into your house, you probably shouldn't own a gun.
Right.
That's the slippery slope of the gun
Mm-hmm.
control loophole.
Sure. And, you know, with all that, it comes down to, and you know, you listen to Mark's show, you have the spot from Alan Gottlieb, you know, it's not the bill of, it's a bill of rights.
Not the,
not the bill of needs. You know, and that's, I mean, that's as plain as it gets. I mean, it's pretty simple. You know, and, you know, for me, like, and I've had some friends that, you know, like I said, they're left of center for sure, that, you know, will shoot me a private message being like, you don't really think this, do you? And I'm like, oh yeah, let me tell you, like, you know,
I'm holding back. Let's put it that way.
Right. I mean, like, if you want to get down to it, like, I think, you know, machine guns and suppressors should be cash and carry. You know, like,
right.
You know, and anything short of that is an infringement, in my opinion.
I always tell people we can thank Lee Harvey Oswald for not being able to buy guns through the mail.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, you know, and you get back to it is like all these gun control measures that they introduce. You know, there's never an explanation with how is this going to decrease crime or make communities safer. Yeah. There's never an explanation of how it's going to work. You know, it's just we need to take these from people. We need to keep them from getting them. Well, you know what? That worked wonderfully for drugs, didn't it? You know, I mean, you know,
the war on drugs produced more drugs. We should have a war on
more
education.
Drug users, right? Yeah, I mean, like, you know, the opioid crisis. I mean, you know, years ago you couldn't find.
This is the Massachusetts in me.
Yeah, there you go. You know, years ago you couldn't find heroin in Nashville, Tennessee. Right. Guess what? You can find in Nashville, Tennessee now, and they're dealing with overdoses left and right. Heroin. Crazy. You know, last I checked, heroin's pretty illegal. It's still pretty you know, illegal. I mean,
there's this Charlton Heston had this quote. He wrote a book called To Be a Man that he wrote to his grandson, and in it he talked about that's where I saw it, or at least I think I saw it, but he said something along the lines of you can't make murder, crime, and rape more illegal. Right. It's already illegal. Yeah, I mean, you make it more illegal. Yeah, you don't have something that's super illegal. Right. You know, it's exactly. You know, it's you know, you can go off in the weeds and you know, to get into a lot of these things, but I mean that's the truth though. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, the gun is immaterial. Murder is illegal. It is. You know, I mean, and it doesn't stop people from murdering people. You know, I mean. You know, Chicago is always the example you hear used. Every weekend, every Monday morning.
Well, it's a war zone. Mm-hmm. It's an absolute war zone. It is. You know? All
right, listen, we're almost where we need to be. I want to turn it back to the new stuff that you guys are making. Yeah. We could go down the gun talk for forever, man, in Chicago and everything else. You guys are now getting into beer. Are you going to tell me that there are 4 people that are making beer? No. Is this what you're telling me? Like, if you pull this behind the beer thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell us about the beers that Leadslingers is putting out. Yep. So we got an IPA. It's very, in my opinion, it's a middle of the road IPA. I love IPAs. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just one of those guys. Like, especially like traditional, like West Coast, you know, real big hop bombs. This one's not that. It's a good one. It's got a nice malt backbone to it. Mm-hmm. The hops play very nicely. It does have kind of a floral taste to it. So if you like IPAs, I mean, you're gonna love this one. Is this us? Yeah. You can. All right. You know, our lager is you know, again, actually, I'm not a huge lager drinker, and I think we've hit a home run with it. You know, if you like Yingling, those types of the actual good lagers, not your Budweisers.
But,
I'm not a fan of Yingling. Everybody thought it was a big deal when it finally got to New England. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
I mean, you know what? To me, it's not bad. I'm not going to go out of my way to get it.
Right.
You know, it's not bad. But ours is, I think it's actually a little bit better. It's just a full flavor. You know, there's no, you know, we don't put rice or anything like that to speed up the fermentation. It's all, you know, everything's in accordance with German purity laws and how we make our stuff.
Wow,
So,
that's cool.
You know, grains and water and hops.
Grains, water, and hops. Awesome.
That's what you're going to end up with. So yeah, you know, that was an opportunity again that presented itself to, you know, hey, we can make beer. And you know, the thing is the process for making beer and for making whiskey is exactly the same until you get to the distillation. You know, so we're already sitting on fermenters and all this stuff to be able to ferment the grains to make the beer. So we were already positioned in a good spot to do it. We got a good brand with a good name, with some, you know, national recognition, and so, you know, it just made sense. You know, we can make a lot of beer, and so right now, our brew house is still kind of small. So we just got the beer up in actually Connecticut, actually I think Massachusetts may be one of them, New Jersey, and Rhode Island.
I do like this. When I first heard about you guys, I'm like, you know what? I got to find some of this. And I went to the website and I found a place that on the website you can pick by state on the stores that have it. Yeah, the store locator. So we do our best to keep that updated as best as we can. The caveat there is that we depend on our local distributors to keep that updated for us. Some are better than others at doing it, so there's some of those, you know, maybe a little bit outdated. I would recommend to call ahead if you're going to make a, you know, I've had unfortunately a few people that, you know, I appreciate their enthusiasm, but they drove like 2 or 3 hours to a store and got there and it wasn't there, you know. The closest place to me was like a 25-minute drive.
Yeah. So, you know, I would recommend anybody that uses the store locator, if it's going to be like significantly out of your way, like call ahead,
right,
just to make sure.
Makes sense. And the address and the store and the phone number was on there. So.
Yep. Cool,
man. How can people find all your goodies?
Well, I mean, so if you go to the store locator, it's at leadslingers.com, leadslingerswhiskey.com.
Leadslingerswhiskey.com.
That'll be the store locator, and we'll start updating it with beer here pretty soon.
Awesome.
Like I said, right now the beer is in Oklahoma and then the states I named up your way. And then, you know, the best way, if you want Lead Slingers in a store that's near you, just, you know, ask the store manager to order some for you. We have, you know, we're in 40-something states now.
That's awesome.
You know, wholesale-wise for the liquors, so they can get it for you. Sometimes, you know, we rely on salespeople to go out there and present the product to store owners and stuff, and so it takes time. You know, we're not Jack Daniels or Jim Beam, you know, so it takes time to kind of saturate a market. But if you want it, start asking your stores to bring it in, and we'll get it to you.
Cool. Now, where else can people hear you on Sunday nights?
Well, Sunday nights, you know, I'm on Armed American Radio on the Roundtable with Mark Walters at 9 p.m. It's a really fast hour, to be honest with you. Like,
it really is. I was listening to some Mark while I was driving down here in the hours. Do you ever, like, bam?
Yeah, I've talked to Mark a few times about, like, we got to figure out a way to maybe make this like 75 minutes. You know, like, it always seems
stretch an hour.
Yeah, it always seems like, you know, like right about the time, you know, but. You know, because we start winding it down, you know, about 9:55, I think, is kind of when the cutoff starts happening. And it seems like right around, like at 9:53, we get into a really good
you're up and rolling
topic. You got to roll, you know, and like
just get your swerve on.
Yeah, and then it's time to go. So I mean, it makes it fun, but you know, sometimes I think we need to make it longer.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Brad Premo, Leadslingers Whiskey, leadslingerswhiskey.com. There's a bottle over there for you. I've been carrying this. I did ask you, this was what I love about my gig. I asked you, I said, hey, I've heard you on with Mark, and I wanted to hand these to my passengers. So you sent me a case, which I've been giving to everybody. I gave one to my kids. We did have to go find one of these guys. And that's whatever. It's ridiculous. But it's been in my car ever since, and I appreciate you guys sending it to me.
Anytime, man. Glad we could give it to you.
Awesome. And we will see you guys on Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Check it out on YouTube, on Gunstreamer, on YouTube and Gunstreamer, sorry. And then the podcast is on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on iHeartRadio. Make sure you check out the Self-Defense Radio Network, SDRN.us, I think is the website. I think I've said it so many times I can't remember what it is. And we will see you guys next time on Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Thanks, man.